to lesson 15 on working planes. Here we have a site plan. Generally speaking, the proposed building is orthogonal to the page in top plan view and often referenced from a different file. That's fine. But we also need to model the existing buildings which are not referenced in but need to be described in 3D with generally massing models. Here is our compass that you saw in lesson 5, which gives us the exact alignments of various objects. So the cafe, the guest block. This is a hotel resort, and north. A working plane then is terribly useful to do that. We'll just show you in principle how it's done. We take a rectangle, something like that, and then we extrude it. We can extrude it 9 meters, and that gives us an extrude on that orientation. We may actually want it to be this object here is a pavilion, and its Z value is 9700. So let's just put our new rectangle at 9700, and then we'll isolate the layer and isolate the class. So there's the rectangle which you're going to use to set the working plane, which is the Set Working Plane tool, which should be in your 3D palette. Used to set up a working plane. There are 2 modes, one is by face and one is by 3-point. I would recommend that you generally get in the habit of using the 3-point. So my x-axis is midpoint to endpoint and my y-axis is midpoint to midpoint. There is now the working plane, and before I do anything else I save that. So drop down the working planes palette and click on new. So we'll call this the Vectorworks tutorial. There are 2 interesting tabs here. We can now look at this in top plan view. Don't forget, I've only got one class isolated here. Top plan view is is automatically set to the active layer plane views. The next tab, which is what you need to have on, is the working plane views. So we'll click on that. We then select in this drop down menu the working plane that we want, which is Vectorworks tutorial, and then we click to look at it. And you can see immediately what is now orthogonal to the page is this new working plane, and all the other views then follow. So this is front view in the working plane, this is right view in the new working plane. We'll turn back on all our classes. You can see this is the guest block. Well, I'll show you in a moment. But generally, I can then bin that. That it served its purpose. The guest block is actually over here. You can see what the plane I've just made will now orient the guest block. There it is. There. Actually, it's a little bit off, isn't it? But you see I've got another bunch of working planes here. The bar is the existing pavilion, which has the restaurant and the bar. And again, so this is immediately oriented orthogonally. Then we have the kitchen, which is this object here. If this goes greyed out, just go back to your working plane, boundary east, this party wall here behind the guest block. If you try to look at these working planes with active layer plane view on, it won't necessarily work. And often it'll ask you, do you want to look at something in the... I probably will do now, actually. Yeah. Do you want to switch to working plane view mode when changing the view from plan rotation to standard view? And say yes. So I'm now looking at the bar from right view. Yeah, so what it's done is to switch from active layer plane views into working plane views. Yeah, there he is. It's this one. And these are just massing models. So that's its usefulness on a site plan, especially modelling the existing, which you want to do quickly with massing models. The second and perhaps more obvious use of the working plane tool to set the working plane is in planes that are not orthogonal to the top plan view, particularly roof pitches. You know, if you want to see the true elevation of that roof, obviously looking down on it, when we try to measure it, it's not. That isn't its surface, is it? For various reasons, you often need to align your working plane to the surface of the object that you're working on. And how do we do that? So with this roof, obviously this roof has various component layers, so we just want to be careful that we're dealing with the correct surface. Here it's terribly simple. I've made a locus there, you can see that's the roof plane, and so I'm just going to take that point, that will be my x-axis and that will be my y-axis. Immediately I'm going to save that as a cold roof south. Okay, I can look at that straight away, and I'm now looking at the plane of that roof in top view, in left view. So that's the front view. This line is the edge of the dormer. This time we'll use the set face. It's picked it immediately. There'll be times where you'll find it's not picking the right plane, because if the plane has no orthogonal corner, that corner we're looking at is actually 90 degrees. That's fine. So my x and y axes are 90 degrees. If you've got an object which doesn't have a 90-degree right angle in it, then I would always recommend set by 3 points. Straight away save your new working plane. So this is going to be cold dormer. So an application of these working planes is something like this. Believe it or not, this is a roof over a food court of a shopping mall. Clearly it is wacky. Each one is different. Each one has a different pitch and orientation. And we need to work on those because we need to work in these working planes, because we need to set up the extrusions that are the structure, the purlins and the roof lights. And here is the structure. Extremely complex roof, if not bonkers. Here are the working planes. So if this is roof C, we should be in roof C plane, and there it is. Okay, look at it from the side, look at it from the front, look at it from the top. I think we've taken one edge as the normal, and again roof D in plane D, and that's then orthogonal to the view, so we can work on that, set up our extrusions. You can see there's a little I section for the structure, a Z purlin. Made them generic solids, so they should be framing members. Working plane E, it's orthogonal. You can see the working plane. You'll notice that the XYZ coordinates here, you might have to double click. Make sure show 3D grid axis and show 3D Z axis and axis labels is switched on. And in fact these roofs are over the mall. So there's a whole bunch of shops inside there and all the rest of it. A rather cute tool is the hidden underneath the set working plane tool. We'll come into this in customizing palettes later. But so I've got my working plane tools nested together. So here are two extrude along paths, kind of handrail type things. And one of these, we've created a working plane for one end in the normal way with the set working plane tool in 3-point modes. We go center to center for the x-axis to center. There we go. You can see the working plane is now set up there. I've already prepared these tube 2. So if we look at tube 2, it's oriented us to that pure circular plane there. I flick round, you'll see that isn't giving me the right view. I need to be in working plane views mode. Go back to tube 2 now. There we are. It's giving me the correctly orthogonal view of tube 2. And this clever little tool will do this. Align plane, choose your axes, so center to top center and then to center right. Whoa, what's it done? It's done that. So it's very clever. It's moved the object and joined it to the other one. Not had a lot of use for it, but it, if you're doing handrail wreaths like that, it'd be fantastic. There's another tool in the box. Thanks for watching.